Welcome to the World Open Innovation Community Podcast. I'm Salar, a PhD researcher on open innovation, and I'm excited to kick off this new series. The WOIC podcast is back, and I'm joined by two well-known figures in the open innovation community. Marisol Menendez, an expert in open innovation, and Marcel Bochers, a professor of open and collaborative innovation. Marisol, Marcel, great to have you here. Would you like to say a quick hello to our listener?
Yeah, of course. If I can start. So hello. Good to be back. As you say, we've been working on a podcast series in different ways before. Also myself in some other research projects have been engaged more in podcast exercise, and it's a really fun thing to do. So I'm looking forward to it, and thank you for supporting it. And happy to relaunch this initiative with your support. Thanks.
Marisol.
Hey, hello Salar, hello Marcel. So happy to be back here. Thank you for making this happen again. We always love a good conversation, no, Marcel? And and I think it's a great opportunity to have the possibility to discuss also about the topics that we love. So happy to be back.
Thank you both. Marcel, let's start with you. Why bring back the WOIC podcast now? What's the story behind this relaunch?
Well, I mean, there's the theoretical story and the practical story, maybe. Yeah. So I think in practice, it's really also, I think, also thanks to your initiative, right, and your willingness to support it, because in the end. This is the difference between theory and practice, as we often try to talk about. I mean, you can think about it in a nice way, but it has to happen. So I think that is the sort of the honest answer as well. At the same time, I think what we like about it, and that's of course how we discussed it, is that first of all, as Marisol says, we like to have these sort of conversations in a way, and we've experienced that, of course, in different contexts. Like we have the World Open Innovation Conference, where we come together and discuss open innovation in different ways. Of course, we also meet at other venues and other occasions, and I think we really like the idea of the podcast as another, now let's call it a platform to discuss different topics with a variety of people. So it really complements a little bit the other things that we try to do for the community, and I think that is part of at least from my point, at least on the theory of why we like to bring it back in that way.
And I can talk about the practice of it. No, I totally agree with Marcel. I think the continuous work that we are doing now related to anything that happens within the community, the conference, these conversations, shows that there's so much knowledge, so much happening around the universe of open innovation, both in academia and practice, that we need to create bridges and ways to provoke this flow of knowledge, as the own open innovation definition states, because it's helpful for everyone, no? Who is studying or working in it every day. And of course, we always like to get to know and to talk to all these amazing people who are bringing the knowledge forward.
Thank you both. Marisol, let's talk about how this podcast will work. Will it always have the same hosts, or will different people be part of the conversation? I can say this news to our listeners that Marcel and Marisol will be our hosts for the next episodes of this series. So let's hear it from you, Marisol. More details.
Well, yeah, of course, Marcel and I always love a good opportunity to chat, as we were saying before. And we really do enjoy talking with many people. I think we will try to somehow host or anchor this space. Of course, we are also in innovation, so we will always like to try new ideas or let the knowledge go where it should go. But we are here to work and to provide anything that we can, and is in our hand to make this happen. And the idea is for us just to be maybe like an instrument or an element to give voice to those who are writing the open innovation history. And so I think the most exciting part is the different guests that we will be including, and the possibilities to let people know what's happening every day.
So, Marcel.
Yeah, no, I think as Marisol says, we also like to innovate and experiment. So I think we've been trying different formats also over the last couple of years, and I think some were maybe more successful than others. So we're also trying to learn from, what is the best way to to engage in this kind of initiative. So I think we are learning also on the way, and try to find the best way to set up this series in a way that it's interesting, it's adding value, also for the community. So along the lines of Marcel mentioned, sort of with different guests and so on. And in terms of the hosting, I think that's also, I think we have to experience sort of how that goes. So I think we try like a little bit a different type of setup as we had it before, also to hopefully make it more sustainable, let's say, so that we can also maintain the efforts over a longer period of time. At least that is the ambition. And I think also there we like the idea, and thanks for your invitation to sort of come back and see if we can kind of continue in that way. But I think we're also open, as Marisol says, to look for different ways, whatever is useful to do. But I think for now we also like it, so we are happy to be back and see if we can maintain this activity. But we are open for any other opportunities that may emerge, I would say.
Perfect. So I mean, it's kind of covering the previous question. So we are thinking about having in open innovation community, we are having different initiatives like OI Thursday or Berkeley Open Innovation Seminar on Mondays. So what makes this podcast unique and different from those initiatives? Let's go for details that, what was the main need for this new podcast? Marisol.
Well, we don't know, or we're not certain if there's a need, not a specific need. We are hoping that this is useful to get deeper into the knowledge of open innovation. So as you were saying, we have different formats, but we do also have this spirit that I think stems very closely from even Henry's values, at its core, which is first bring academia and practice together. And we are always trying to look for different ways to close the gap here, and also the acceleration, the speed of creating new knowledge nowadays is so fast, at least on my perspective. I don't know if you feel it that way in the academia as well, that it's good to have ways to understand and learn, and get acquainted of what's happening nowadays. So we will try to keep that same spirit, but the difference with the other activities that we have is here we will try to dedicate a little bit more time, maybe around 45 minutes, to get deeper into details, because we can later talk about other formats that we have available. So we can dig a little bit more into the topic that we are talking about every day. No, Marcel?
Yeah, maybe so I'm supposed to represent a little bit the academic perspective. So my interpretation of your point is we often like to talk about sort of, let's say, open innovation in terms of breadth and depth, right? So breadth is about the number of external sources you would work with, and this is a little bit what you say. That's, I think, what we're focused on also in when we started the podcast series, that we had kind of a broad approach, right? Have several people, put them together in a conversation and see how we can bridge those different perspectives, which was very interesting in its own respect. But now I think we go more for depth, as you say, right? So try to see, okay, maybe, just one guest at a time, and really have some time to have the conversation, maybe then with the single person rather than the big group, right? So it's always a bit of a trade-off. So I think that's a little bit in terms of the depth that I think we try to focus on, and then move from different topic to topic, person to person, and bring different perspectives also across the different episodes. And I think what we've also learned is that we try to sort of bridge theory and practice by bringing different people together from the different those different worlds, so to say. But in a way, I think we also feel that we also represent those different worlds ourselves, right? I mean, I come more from academic perspective, Marisol, you come more from the practice side of the world, so to say. So I think that in itself already adds some value, and And then one thing that also came to my mind, Salar, as you were also a little bit, with the hosting and in particular the value. So my experience, like in my own research, is that often the questions that I ask and ultimately the papers that I write, often I do that for myself because I'm curious about the question, and I've reviewed some literature because I want to know, okay, what's happening, what do we know about it, and then it turns out, well, okay, other people also find it useful to read, and then you get it published and so on. So it's a little bit the same, I think, with the podcast. So we've not done a very thorough market analysis or anything, to be honest, but of course we have, I think, a feeling for what people are interested in the community. So that's, I think, what we try to translate together with your support, of course, and your help to see, okay, how can we embed that in the podcast series. But yeah, I mean, also having, asking those questions and having those conversations that we are, genuinely interested in ourselves. Then with the assumption maybe that, others also find it interesting. But yeah, we'll see. But I think so far that has been the experience, at least the feedback that we got. Although maybe people won't say that if they don't like it. It's also a bias there.
And also because you were mentioning, Salar, at the beginning that we have different options, no, as community. So every Monday there's the Open Innovation Seminar, where there's, I think, 2 hours, if I don't remember.
Yeah, 2 halves. Yeah.
2 halves to discuss like topics in detail, more in a very interesting Zoom gathering, very detailed, no? And it's very, very interesting, more focused. Then we have also the Open Innovation Thursdays, where we are reviewing each of the chapters of the Oxford Handbook of Open Innovation, released last February, and we are speaking 15 minutes, just 15 minutes every week with each of the authors of each of the chapters. We are in chapter number 35 already, but it's only 15 minutes, no? And the idea is like we can have a small tidbit, just an amuse-bouche about the topic, so you can just break the ice with it and get later on your hands in by getting into the chapter. So this is playing with breadth and depth, as Marcel was saying. No, we are trying to broaden the scope, having a very thin information and just creating curiosity, and then we have these depth opportunities, like for example with the seminars and together with this podcast.
But Salar, may I ask you the question back?
Yeah, sure.
Sort of what do you think, the value is of this podcast?
For me personally, I'm borrowing from your point of view. If we have the open innovation community as an ecosystem, I think these initiatives are complementarities to our common goal, which is, about open innovation and having open innovation both in academia, going for different disciplinaries, not just focusing in our own community, and also in industry. I think these initiatives are complementarities, and this podcast will be the one that, somehow nerds and also the people who are not into our community will enjoy it, because we will have, in my mind, different episodes with different focuses. So it will be very interesting to listen. I mean, if you want to go for depth, or if you want to get kind of familiar with the ideas about open innovation.
Ah, nice. I like the ecosystem perspective of it. Yeah? But it says a little bit, I think, also about the focus of your research, obviously. We can talk more about it.
Yeah. So, Marcel, are we looking at a set release schedule, or will it be more flexible, these episodes? I think we mentioned the answer, but we are going for an explicit answer from your side. To be honest, obviously we have a plan, and I mean also the plan that you proposed, obviously. So I mean, I think the idea is that of course there is some regularity in regular episodes, but it's not. I believe at least the idea is that it's not just fully a rigid schedule, in the sense that also there may be sometimes some emerging developments that we say, oh, maybe we can do something on that, and maybe we want to have an additional episode on a particular topic, or maybe somebody has
published a new book or some really interesting paper, we can talk about that. But we also want to, as you indicated, also look for other opportunities and including sort of. I think we'll probably start a little bit with more the core, the inside of the ecosystem, to use that wording, but also look a little bit more for the boundaries and see what other people we can engage. Of course, now it's again a long answer, and I don't think I've really answered it very explicitly, even though that was your request. But I think, but you may also be able to help with the question yourself. But I think the idea is that at least we have several times a year, and then I don't know if it's like once a month or maybe a little bit less, depending as a kind of a regular episode. And I think it's of course also the practice of how we record everything, and that we have like a little bit of a pipeline or in the funnel, so to say. But I think that's basically the idea, right? So every 1-2 months, let's say, have something out there to have some regularity, and for the community to have something there. And maybe sometimes it can be a little bit more frequent. Of course, as you also indicated, it's part of a bigger ecosystem, so we also try to connect it to other initiatives. So we have, of course, our conference, Open Innovation Conference, where that in itself can be an opportunity to record some additional episodes, or maybe like a teaser with some of the attendees or speakers. So I think that's a little bit, how we want to be also more flexible than we used to be, because I think the rigidity of it sometimes also doesn't always help to stay of course flexible and keep it going. Anyway, I hope I answered your
Marcel,
question.
we are going with effectuation mode.
Effectuation, that is maybe the right approach, but I'm not sure as a sort of the project manager role that Salar has, if he likes effectuation too much. But that's where we need to find a balance.
Yeah. And also, I think you answered clearly. I think, the frequency of our episodes will be 1 or 2 months, one episode. And also in between, maybe we will have, for example, as you mentioned, new chapter, new paper published, and we will have discussions around it. And also maybe, for example, if we have WOIC, we will have more opportunity to see people in person. We can have some episodes there. So it's a very young podcast, this new series. So we will see how it grows. And we are open to the ideas that we can receive from the community, open innovation community. And we are so open for it. So reach Marcel, Marisol, or me. If you have any ideas about this podcast, we are so open to the new ideas from our community. And Marisol, as we mentioned about the community and people in our community, how will people know when a new episode is out? Should they, subscribe, follow WOIC on social media or something like that?
Well, it's clear for everyone now that we are trying to learn and find the right way to do this. And because just right now we promised no planning at all. We will try to announce it very clearly in the World Open Innovation community channels that we have, LinkedIn, maybe in the webpage, and we will try to reach out to you in different ways and different channels we have. And of course, in our own individual social media, but of course through the World Open Innovation community we have. We like this WOIC acronym for everything: World Open Innovation Conference, World Open Innovation Community, and World Open Innovation Conversations.
So, we mentioned WOIC. Let's go for Marcel. Do we have any updates about WOIC 2025? Any announcements that you can, it's kind of pre-announcing before the official announcements? Do you have any news about it?
Well, we did already announce the date and location, and maybe I should give back to Marisol because it's in her current hometown in Bilbao. So we'll go back. We were there a few years ago already, but we liked it so much that I think it is really a good opportunity to go back. So I think it will be again early November, and so the main conference will be 2 days, and we're planning also things around it. So typically we have like a day before or sometimes after the conference where we can do some visits in the area. We're also kind of reconsidering how we exactly want to do that. We also want to create value again for the community, also to engage more with the local ecosystem, because we think it's a great opportunity if we are somewhere at the location that we can really engage also the local, let's say ecosystem, with the local players from industry and policy. So I mean, we are exploring those kind of things. Also, we are bringing back the doctoral consortium. So we've had that many years. And I think that's also something where probably will be like the day before, maybe, or the day before that one, but in the same week, so that PhD students can also go there and benefit from some more in-depth discussions, maybe on the paper they submit or something like that. So more details will become available. Also finalizing the exact dates, for submissions and so on. So they will become available also through the same channels that were already mentioned. So stay tuned on that one if it's not available yet. So I think those are some of the main updates. And by the way, we are going to change, with the submission system, and we're trying to optimize many of those things, and with registration. So hopefully it will be also become a more smooth experience for the attendees and people who submit and who help with reviewing, and the people in the organizing team who do a really great job in making it all happen while we are just chatting here with you. The actual work is done by many other people, of course, so to say. But anyway, so just to say, so I think those are some of the updates. So I think most of the information should be available. Submission deadline will be similar to last year, which is earlier than it used to be. So we try to be more on time with certain things. So just keep an eye on that one, I would say, the exact dates and everything. Right?
And just remember, everyone, I think one of the most interesting elements of the conference is having the Best Paper Award. So we are always open for paper presentations, but also best practice, no?
Exactly.
And so we are always looking for the ways that we are implementing open innovation in our day-to-day lives. And I think this mix is so interesting. So we will be pushing for this call for everyone to participate.
So I think we are reaching to the end of the first episode. We call it introduction episode. So this has been a great conversation, Marisol, Marcel. And before we wrap up, any final thoughts? Marcel?
Yeah, well, again, I want to thank you for your taking the initiative. And, it was a nice conversation already to kick off and think a little bit more about the podcast and the WOIC, the conference, and everything connected to it. So there was a nice opportunity. And as you say, I think we are indeed, open for all kinds of ideas and suggestions related to the podcast, but also more generally. And in the end, I mean, it's really all about the community. That's, I think, what gives us also the energy to work on this. I think it's the same for the organizing team behind the conference itself, and the people really connected to it. So I think this is it's really about the people, both in the community and sort of behind the scenes, making it all happen. So I do want to take the opportunity to thank everybody for that support in that way over the years, and look forward to next episodes and all the next steps we can do to create more value for our community in the broad sense.
Thank you, Marcel. Marisol?
Well, I like very much hearing what you and Marcel have been telling during the session, and it gets me inspired. At the end, I think this is the dynamic of our conversations. As Marcel is saying, the important people and the important elements are everyone else who are participating in this, no? And I like to think that we are always going back to the basic definition of open innovation, because we are just building the bridges to cross organizational boundaries. And we are very happy to allow for these knowledge flows through these channels. No, we are creating I think maybe an infrastructure for our ecosystem. No, so we are living in our everyday lives through these efforts, just the creation of what we like to work and think about. So happy to be of of use for the community, and we hope that this keeps nurturing all of us. And happy to hear all suggestions, ideas, and keep meeting so many interesting people around this Salar. Thank you very much for your enthusiasm and your energy.
Thank you.
Because this is key. At the end, I think we are also growing, from our mutual support, and you are key for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marisol. And that's a perfect note to end on. Thinking about the community, I mean, that's the perfect thing. And as you mentioned, going for open innovation definition, I think that's something we all believe in, and that's perfect. So to everyone listening, stay tuned. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn. I mean, World Open Innovation Conference and community channels. And Marcel, Marisol, and me, we are available for new ideas, new suggestions. So stay tuned, and until the next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.